Hey folks, figured I'd just kind of do like a freeform video this time. I just want to tell stories. I'm getting old. Kind of think of it like deathbed confessions. Deathbed confessions, but I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything wrong. I've experienced a whole lot of bullshit and trauma my whole life, though. That's for damn sure. Excuse the foul language, but when I first got a digital camera back, I guess it was around 2007, 2006, 2000, yeah, maybe 2006. For insurance purposes, so I could take when I would finish a job. I was a home builder and painting contractor, and so whenever I would finish a job, like the second job I ever did, I got scammed pretty hard. Like, they didn't pay us. I don't remember their names, but the woman in particular seemed to be the ringleader of the scam. Huge house, and one of the wealthiest, well, the wealthiest part of town. If you lived here, you'd know the name of the street. Like, they lived on what drive? Oh, okay. Yeah, a very large house, but just a one-story house, and but high ceilings, so we had to use scaffolding. We basically removed the entire ceiling and put up new sheetrock, and they wanted it, nice and flat, so we got it nice and flat. And I had my nephew working for me at the time. Long story short, we're nearing completion of the job, and we're just like painting it at this point. I mean, we've already sprayed, like a sort of a really fine, what we call an orange peel texture, with sheetrock mud mixed with water, and put it in a blower and spray it on there. And so they were having a metal building constructed in the backyard. They poured a slab. They put up steel framing, and then they put up the siding, and then they were putting on the roof, and they were down to like the last piece of roof. And I hear a bunch of commotion and everything, and so we go outside, myself and my helper, and these guys that have been doing this construction on this very large, like, metal garage, like, I think it's like 20 by 20 or so, 20 by 30, like, metal storage building or garage. And she's out there, oh no, this is totally unacceptable, oh, this is all wrong, oh, the lines on the roof are supposed to be going this way, they're not supposed to be going that way. And he said, ma'am, this is the only kind of building we sell. This is the only kind of roofing that we put on them. We only have like 3 different sizes of one model. Like, didn't you look at the pictures of the website? I mean, you should have known what you were buying. Oh, no, this is not what I requested. We're not paying for any of this. And the guy was like, what am I going to tell the corporate office, And then how am I going to get paid or whatever? The guy probably worked for himself, small business owner. Well, this wealthy vampire just basically robbing the guy blind, and who's he going to go to? How's he going to get paid? There's no recourse of action. So I just kind of set off a little alarm bell there for me, because it just seemed very irrational. This woman seemed very irrational, but I think she was just sneakily trying to get a free building. So we get down to, like, literally painting the last room, the kitchen, and she comes in there, oh no, this is totally unacceptable, this is all wrong, I don't like this, you need to repaint this, blah blah blah, but we're not going to pay you the other half. I got a half up front at least. She said, no, we're not going to pay you the other half until you get it right or whatever. I was like, oh well, I got conned, lesson learned. I had to just walk off that job. But from then on, I started interviewing and profiling my customers And if I seen if I saw anything sort of shady or deceptive about them, it's like, I ain't working for you, lady or mister. You just have to hire somebody else. Or another instance of this sort of thing. That if you get older and you own a business, kids out there, you'll run into this sort of thing. I've been swinging a hammer since I was 3 years old. The first thing I ever wanted to be was a builder. I didn't know how to say carpenter or construction worker back then. I'm on a job, and dude's like, "That's not how you hold a hammer. Here, let me show you how to hammer." Wait, what? Are you gonna like go in for surgery and snatch the scalpel out of the surgeon's hand? That's not how you cut on me. I'll show you how to cut on me. Like, who made him an expert on what I do, first of all? But look, tell me what you want built. Don't tell me how to build it. So you say, I want a really advanced electric motor. That's not how you build an electric motor. Well, if you're the expert, then why don't you build it yourself? Why did you even ask me to build you an advanced new type of electric motor if you think you can build a better electric motor than me? Okay, tell me what you want the motor to do, how much horsepower you want, or what specifications. That's fine, but don't tell me how to do my job. And so now we have people telling me to just do well, what is my job? My job is to work for you. So this guy's on there saying, we can't allow people to retire at age 62. Motherfucker, it's not up to you to allow me to retire at any time. I could hit the lottery tomorrow, right? So this just gets into the whole, like, our society is really confused. It calls itself a democracy, and it's not even close to being a democracy. People are slaves to ideas that are often just quite irrational. So anyways, I think I already told this story, but I want to go now to the biker couple. So I used to hang out at this bar, and there was a biker couple there, and we made friends, and they seemed like they kind of respected me, and hey, he's doing good. My business was growing, and I had money, and I was drinking 12-year Glenlivet Scotch, and hey, he's pretty cool and everything, and talk about this or that. And no, this is actually back when I was doing real estate investing before I had the construction company, so it was even further back. I told him, I said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I started looking into the stock market. I spent my whole life studying electricity and the physics of electricity and magnetism, and I never even looked into money and systems of money and how money operates. So now I'm really studying, how to make money in the stock market, and I started trying to tell him what I was planning to do, because I said, well, I've noticed some things that I feel like I can easily take advantage of, and he wasn't having none of that. You can't time the market. There's just there's no way. You're just gambling. You're throwing your money away or whatever. You can't time the market and all this. Try to tell him about dollar cost averaging and mutual funds and how they work. He didn't want nothing to do with it, and him and his old lady, sort of ridiculed me a little bit there, and I was like, okay, well, change the subject. You don't want to. I was going to try to, give you some little nuggets of gold that you could go make yourself a pile of money too. And so about a year later, of course, stock market just shot up all of a sudden, and I was buying all the way down, and buying more. Like, the more the market went down, the more money I would put in. And so I wasn't cost averaging, I was like leveraging. And so when the market shot up, I sold out. Yeah, I took a huge tax hit, but I still tripled my money. And then I paid my house off. It's impossible. You're not supposed to be able to time the market. You'll wait it out every 5 to 10 years or so, 8 years on average. Crash, boom, cycles of greed and collapse. But oh no, 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 that's none of that's true. It's not rigged. It's fair and balanced like Fox News, right? Sure, buddy. Okay, glad you're enjoying your virtual reality that you live in. So anyhow, I go back a year later and hey, how's it going? There's Sunsaver. Well, paid my house off. I'm pretty good, doing pretty good. Paid my house off. What? How did you do it? Oh man, no, not now. It's a little bit late. You're gonna have to wait another 8 years. You could have gotten in and only had to wait a year, but you didn't get in, and you didn't want to listen to me a year ago. But now all of a sudden you want to listen to me. So, success breeds contempt, among other things. Like people all of a sudden want to start listening to you. Oh, now I'm the expert because I was successful. I don't know. I mean, it's just I'm not bitter about it. It's just I kind of feel sorry for these people because they believe these things. So along similar lines, even before that, when I first got into it, I realized, well, hey, I need a good credit rating to invest in real estate, right? So I paid off all my credit card debt, and then I started working on my credit. And there's little tricks you can do to that, but hey, don't ask me now. I'm not even into that whole thing. So, but anyhow, there's a lot of good advice on there on how to improve your credit rating and or make money in real estate, stock market, or whatever you want to do. It's a free country. That's what I'm getting at. Is the whole authoritarianism shit that's going on these days. The young deluded kids we got these days. So, but before that, I was still working at a plumbing supply house, and of course I paid off all my credit card debt, and was building up just cash reserves, and I was buying U.S. Gold and silver and coins and U.S. savings bonds, things like that, and cash holdings, and not in the market at that time, and so somebody at work said something about credit card debt or something like that. And I said, well, I don't have any credit cards. I don't use credit cards. I don't use debt spending. He's like, you have to have a credit card. Like, you can't buy a car, you can't get a job, you can't do anything without a credit card. And I was like, well, dude, I cut up all my credit cards like 5 years ago, and things are still going fine for me. I haven't dropped dead magically because I didn't have a credit card. There's no law that I'm aware of that says you must have a credit card and you must use debt spending. Where is this law at? But apparently it's just common knowledge. If you live in America, you have to have a credit card. Why, don't you want to be successful in life? Yeah, I want to be successful in life, not in debt. you know? Again, not insulting. I didn't name this person. He was just a young man, but this is what young people are being taught today, apparently. So, back it up even further. And still to this day, quite often I hear, when you try to give someone any kind of information that they just don't want to hear, like, I don't want to know that. They just like, oh well, these are the end times. We're living in the final days. These are the final days. This is the end times. Okay, 2012. World's gonna end in 2012. Back it up. Y2K, the year 2000. Oh, all the computers are gonna blow up. No, I've been building computers since I was like, 12 years old. 11, 12 years old. Since I'm pretty sure that none of us put dynamite inside the computers. Your computer is not going to blow up. Like, this is not a James Bond Hollywood movie. There are no explosive devices in your computer. The dates might get screwed up or something like this, but it's not going to cause a total meltdown of society and the end of the world. The Y2K disaster, stock up on bullets and dry beans and all this. We're fixing to have a collapse of society or a nuclear war or whatever, The world's fixing to end. 2012, the world's about to end. These are the final days. This is the Christian philosophy. It's very nihilistic. I keep hearing, oh, we're living in the end times. Yeah. Well, get on with it, bitch. You've been threatening to kill me my whole life. Get on with it. Here, get your gun. Put it on there. Come on. Do it. Shoot me right there. Right in the temple. Come on, motherfuckers. What's the deal? Case in point, this was another time I went to the library. My internet was out. This was like in 2006 maybe. And went to the library, used the internet, and 2000, maybe in 2007 or something like that. So I'm at the internet, you have like an hour on there that you can use, and then you really need to turn it over to somebody else. Unless they're slow, they'll give you another pass, and you can go for another hour. And I just was going on there to chat on, this forum I used to go on, and I think it was called like Sufficient Self or something, or Backyard Chickens or something like that. Just sort of libertarian kind of get back to the land, Mother Earth news kind of stuff that I was always been into. Always been a lover of organic gardening. And so this guy, sitting next to me, he gets up and he's just all of a sudden he's just looking, he's like this. He's just all just shook up and just distressed really badly. And like I was getting up too, and I think he either followed me out or he just came to me in the library itself. But at some point where we were both leaving the library, he said, I was like, what's wrong? And he said, all these tanks, the world's fixing to end, and all these tanks with blue markings on them, like I guess like UN symbols or something. He's terrified that the United Nations is this horrible thing that, and he was about my age too. He was like an older gentleman, at the time I think I was 30 something. He may have been older than me. He may have been like 40 or 50 something. But whatever it was that he was reading and studying on the internet had this guy convinced that there's some problem with these tanks. And he said, they're taking over, like they're taking over our sovereignty and all this, and the tanks, they're coming and it's fixing to be this or that. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, those tanks with the blue markings in downtown, didn't you see them? I was like, no, buddy, I don't know what reality you're living in, but where I'm living, there's no bombs going off, there's no tanks. Pretty quiet out there, unless some asshole doesn't have a muffler on his car, or some kid riding through with loud bumpity, rap music going. But other than that, no, I'm not hearing any explosions. I haven't seen any tanks running through downtown, Antique Alley or whatever. No, I haven't seen any tanks. I just felt bad for the guy. But now it's like, hey, am I missing out on some? There's supposed to be some fun action. So it's got me thinking about Roadhouse Blues by the Doors. The end is always near. Yeah, the future's uncertain and the end is always near. That's not a good way to live under constant threat that you're going to die tomorrow, or in 10 minutes you're fixing to die. It's 2 minutes to midnight. We're fixing to have a nuclear war at any minute. That's not healthy. That's not a healthy way to live. It's not a healthy way to raise your children. This is not a safe country for children if this is the kind of thing they're going to be subject to. Apparently their whole lives. Or like I said, this guy was 40-something years old. And just in sheer terror that tanks are invading and the United Nations is destroying our sovereignty and George Soros this or that, or these people I've never even heard of. How does this affect my life as a U.S. citizen and a hard-working dude barely getting paid minimum wage? And why are all these older white men so pissed off and wanting to hang me all the time? Because I'm not living in this horrible, nightmarish virtual reality that they're living in? Because I'm not running around scared all the time? Am I supposed to be? Why? Why am I supposed to be scared? What am I supposed to be scared of? I'm supposed to be afraid of Russian aggression, or, oh, I'm sorry, the American Nazis that are taking over all the churches in Ukraine and whatever. That's not the news I'm getting. I mean, the news I'm getting is that the Russians have invaded Ukraine, and the Russians are the ones that are bombing civilian buildings and apartment complexes, and even one was like a church or a school that said children and elderly do not bomb, and that was like one of the first ones they sent a cruise missile to. So apparently Russia controls all the news and media in the United States of America. That's really strange. How did that happen? Different subject. Comedy. Airplane with Leslie Nielsen. This was the funniest movie I ever saw. You know, hey, if it's all my fault, and this is all just my hallucination because I'm crazy, I think I see UFOs, so I'm crazy. Okay, so, well, this is the best thing ever came out of my imagination then, because Airplane was just a fantastic movie, very funny. Anyways, there's one scene in there where these two black guys are in there, and they talk jive, which was like a sort of street talk, a counterculture of African Americans, and the stewardess is like, "What did he say? I don't understand," And so this little white one comes over, "I can handle this," and he said he's very sick, and he wonder if you had the medicine for him, something like that. So that reminded me of a story, though. Later on, when I was in my 20s, I worked for a beverage company, and the best boss I ever had was actually African American, a guy named Joe, and there was another guy there. There was this really large black guy. Joe was small and sort of smallish guy, and very intelligent and very nice and very fair. He was a very fair, like if you did wrong, he'd let you know, hey, you're fucking up. If you did good, he said, hey man, you did a good job. I'm gonna talk to the boss about getting you a pay raise. So a very fair individual, obviously not sort of bought into the really asinine system that many corporations use to control people. He's a real human being. So anyways, the other dude, I can't remember the guy's name, gets off the truck, kind of made all his beer deliveries, and I was working in the warehouse and not a driver at that time. And he comes in and he gets off the truck and walks up to Joe, and Joe's standing there. Joe's a little short black guy, and this was a big old gigantic black guy, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or something, compared to just a little short black man. So anyway, he walks up, hey Joe, what that? And Joe goes, ha ha ha, and then the guy walks off, and I was like, man, I was listening hard, and I was like, I walked over there and I said, Joe. And he said, yeah. And I said, man, what did that dude just say? And he said, man, I don't know. I don't speak that jive talk. I thought that was kind of funny. Anyhow, another story about the beverage company. The boss's name was Mike. And Mike was basically French royalty from South Louisiana. And I guess he was just the worst, most entitled prick in the world. He was a horrible boss, and just kind of dumb too. That's another thing. Like very entitled and preppy, like I'm the king of the world. A very narcissistic kind of type of guy, but also just kind of dumb, kind of thick-headed. And that's probably why the business went under eventually. Anyhow. There was one time, of course, Joe, I already told you about Joe, the warehouse manager, not the overall manager or owner. He was just a warehouse manager, and I was assistant warehouse manager. And, so when I was waiting for my wife at the time, I was married, I was waiting for my wife to come pick me up. I'd sit back there and hang out with Joe. We'd sit on top of the palace and just tell stories, He'd tell me about, things he experienced as a poor black person living in America, and I'd tell him stories about being, somewhat middle-class white guy with a father who was a professor of psychology, taught criminal psychology. So anyways, just sitting back there, hanging out with him because he was a real human and likable, and he had relatable stories. Um, and also, I didn't drink beer. They would go all just sit up front and drink beer while they're waiting for the, while they're just kind of at the end of the day, they kind of have a little party out front where they would just drink beer. And of course, it was a beverage company that sold beer, so they literally had beer in the ice, what's a Coke machine or soda machine. So you put in 2 quarters and you open the door and you pull the bottle out of the thing. It had like a rack that you kids won't know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of like an old soda vending machine. But anyhow, it was stocked full of beer, and we're back there talking and everything. This was just a typical day. This was every day pretty much. And but I suddenly had to go to the bathroom, and so I went. I was using the bathroom. Had to kind of do the number 2, whatever. Sit down there using the bathroom, and I'm about done. But it's really quiet in that bathroom, and it's just right off the front of the building. With the warehouse door was open, and I could hear them all out there talking. And then I hear the big boss, Mike. He's like, and I do a pretty good impression of him. That's why I wanted to do Mike. He's like, oh, "What's the deal about John? I mean, where's he at? He don't want to come here and drink beer with us. I mean, what's the deal?" And he's like, of course, the other guy, Toby, he was the assistant big manager. He's like, I don't know, boss. No, I'm doing Johnny there. How do you do? He's like, he kind of talks like Johnny actually. He's like, that damn Johnny thinks he knows everything. And well, he's a pretty smart old guy. Yeah, he's pretty smart. And then he's like, what's the deal though? He doesn't ever want to hang out with us. I mean, he's always just wants to hang out in back. This is how Mike talk. His hands were always like this. He'd shift from one, then he'd shift onto that foot, and he'd shift on that foot. He always talked like this. Like, what's the deal? I mean, come on, what's the deal? What's the deal? Everything was, what's the deal? What's the deal? What's the deal with John? He's kind of weird, don't you think? I mean, he always wants to hang out there back with John. I mean, he wants to hang out back with Joe. And he said, I don't know. I guess he's just some kind of nigger lover. I was like, man, I wish I hadn't overheard that. I just kind of was like, I had to go tell Joe. I was like, Joe, man, you know what Mike just said? He's like, what's the deal with John? Why is he doesn't ever come hang out with us? Because he must be a nigger lover. Because I'd rather talk to you. And he's like, man, I don't know. Just I've been going through it my whole life. So anyways, that leads me to the next one. Can't beat the system. So when I was working the next job, our next major job after the car company thing, I have 100 stories about being a used car salesman, so I'm not even going to go there right now. But these are my war stories of life on planet Earth. Can't beat the system, that was when I was telling the kid, I don't have any credit cards, So then I started buying properties, and I was still working there, still working an 8-hour job, but I had good credit. I was buying properties on leveraged credit, and so then I started building up fixed assets too at that time, and so anyhow, I got the nickname of Johnny Rock, which was short for Johnny Rockefeller, and I don't remember what it was that I did that made the boss unhappy. I think somebody that knew me, that was one of the customers, that he was sucking up to, trying to make a sale. And he said, oh, well, you don't know about John, and I guess he told him about these things with building a computer when I was a kid and building a robot or whatever, maybe, because this was a guy that I knew from high school. And so I guess he got all mad about that, but then he said something about, John, you can't beat the system. And I was like, that kind of reminded me of another old saying, that if you can't beat them, join them. And I thought, well, there's a third option. You can ignore them. You can ignore them. You don't have to go running around like a chicken with your head cut off because the blue tanks are taking over downtown. Just Ignore them. Ignore the blue tanks. Don't look at them. Are they shooting at you? You know, consider maybe this is Russian propaganda. Consider maybe this is fake news. You know, oh, you need to go grab a hammer and go beat Nancy Pelosi over the head. Really? Well, where are you getting this information? You know, maybe consider just ignoring that and don't. I suggest you don't get a hammer and go beat Nancy Pelosi in the head, okay? So, enough of that. Uh, you know, really, folks better start learning to speak Mandarin Chinese, because if you're going to fall for all these, obviously, psyops, if you're going to fall for all these psyops, then you got no chance of maintaining any kind of sovereignty or democracy or freedom or even technological superiority or military superiority. You're going to lose your military superiority if you're going to tell the expert electronics guy that he can't do something, you know, that he's already doing. It's like, well, you can't, you know, you can never use Hall effect sensors as compasses. That's impossible. Oh, it's impossible. Well, I'm already doing it. I'm already perfecting it. You can't time the market. That's impossible. Well, I already paid my house off. So you're telling me what I did is impossible? That means I'm a miracle worker. Oh, I'm God. I worked miracles. Jeez. All right. Next topic. Prove you're a human. Okay, well, you know, sometimes when I'm trying to get into something with my bank account on the computer, you know, or surfing for something else, it'll say, prove you're a human. You know, a CAPTCHA comes on there, prove you're a human, you know. And, you know, seems easy enough to do. Well, there's people on TV that I don't think they can prove that they're human. You know, obviously colorblind. Again, you know, when I hear about these little green men, well, they're not green. Obviously, you've never seen an alien because they're gray. They're about 3.5 foot tall. They have gray skin, big black eyes that are sort of almond shaped. They look Chinese. No nose, no mouth. They use technology to control people's minds. Like that guy at the library, at the public library, that thinks tanks are taking over and it's the end of the world. Well, it's been 20 years now. Is the world going to end? Come on with it. Come on with it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The Free Energy Party guy. So that leads me to the next topic. Called himself Dave Parker, the Free Energy Party. In Austin, Texas. Established by the former Soviet Union. The guy never heard of AC/DC. But supposedly, you know, he did a good job of hiding his Russian accent because, you know, he sounded like he could be an American. But the more I looked into and questioned the guy, and the more I realized, like, well, he loves to sing. So he started, like, posting videos. They're very narcissistic, the Russians. And he started posting videos about, you know, where he's singing. You know, he wanted to sing and do stuff on there. Wanted to be a movie star, okay? He never heard of AC/DC, and all he's singing is these Russian sea shanties. So, prove you're a human. Well, prove you're an American, you know? Prove that we should trust you or allow you into the country. You know, if you can prove you're a Mexican and you're not getting money from China or Russia, y'all think you should come in. Mexicans are great. They make good workers. And, you know, as far as giving these, you know, this woman from Ukraine, supposedly from Ukraine, but she's a former Soviet agent. I did a background check on her. She's a former Soviet agent. And then she didn't even move to America. She's not a Ukrainian. She's a Russian that was living in Ukraine. And she was there before, you know, the fall of the Berlin Wall. And so she moves to the United States in 2005, and she's a member of Congress already. Man, I can't even get my foot in the door of manufacturing. I can't even start my own business because suppliers won't even return my emails. Where can I buy this? Where can I buy that? Quote me a price on 1,000 foot of this or 100 of these. I want 1,000 of these bolts. How much is that going to cost me? Just ghosting my ass. It's a stone wall. But here, this Soviet agent, former Soviet agent, the Honorable so-and-so from whatever state she's supposedly from. Well, she ain't from Minnesota or Wisconsin or wherever she's supposed to be from. That's for damn sure. And she's only been living in the United States since 2005. Already a member of Congress, already trying to make laws that I'm expected to obey. I was born here and I've lived here for 54 years. I'm supposed to obey laws written by some Soviet agent, KGB agent. That's not cool. American medical system scam. Dude cured cancer a long time ago. I saw but they say, it's impossible to cure. All these TED Talks. Well, who's this TED motherfucker? Because he's not sharing any practical or realistic information. I've already seen the news and the press releases. I saw that, CRISPR, they basically cured muscular dystrophy in mice. So that means no more muscular dystrophy, no more MDA biker runs or whatever, to raise money. Cancer, the race for the cure. You mean the race for the cure that was back in the 1980s? When they found that all the rats that got cancer were deficient in this one protein, regardless of what type of cancer it is. There's only one cause for cancer. It's your cells are reproducing uncontrollably because they don't have this limiting factor. Either your DNA is defective, or radiation or something, maybe a virus, whatever damaged your DNA. Maybe it's just hereditary, but your DNA is damaged and it no longer manufactures this one protein that tells the cell when to die, or something to do with the telomeres, the caps on the ends of your chromosomes. So what this means is that this guy started synthesizing or just extracting. He would just extract it from donor patients' blood, this particular protein, and inject it into the treat the person that has the cancer. And he cured like 100 out of 100 patients, regardless of what type of cancer it was. So this whole notion that it's impossible to cure cancer and it's 50 years in the future. Dude, we landed a man on the moon 50 years ago, and you're telling me we can do that, but we can't cure cancer. There's a problem here. There's something ain't quite copacetic. Very conspicuous. And then they want to give you radiation and toxic chemicals. That's going to just accelerate your death from cancer. It's going to make your cancer rapidly metastasize and kill you. And like I said, I think I already talked about this. Old Mike used to live on the next street. Older gentleman, very nice guy, beautiful gardens he worked on. He loved his gardens. It just looks like a fancy zoo or something. I told him, I said, Mike, look, just start drinking dandelion tea. Take a tablespoon of baking soda and water every day. Whatever you can do, but there's also these other treatments that maybe just start getting blood transfusions instead of putting poison and radiation into your blood. Get some fresh blood from somebody. So, vampires. There was another experiment that was done. This is real science. Okay, rats that were young and rats that were very old. They took the blood from the young rats and transfused it. Not all at once. They didn't kill the innocent little young rats. They just took the young, they just took the healthy blood from the young healthy rats and injected it into the old mice. And the old mice literally grew young. All their diseases fell away. Their wrinkles fell away. The gray went away. The color returned to their fur. And they literally became young again. The Bible says people used to live up to 500 years old. We're being told, you can expect to live to 65 or 70, but we're not going to allow you to quit being a slave until after 65. We can't allow them to retire at 62. Allow who? This is a free country, motherfucker. I don't appreciate these Russian bitches taking over my American medical system. It's a scam. It's a total scam. They're vampires. Armstrong, remember this guy? He was a bicyclist. Everybody thought he was doping or taking amphetamines or something. No, he was taking the blood of young, healthy black males and shooting it into his puny little white man body, and the extra oxygen from the supersized hemoglobin turned him into a Superman, just like that experiment with the rats. So, yeah, and now we're fixing to have a nuclear war. And again, these aren't conspiracy theories. I'm just telling you my experiences. These are deathbed confessions. Because, what am I going to do? I have no options. It's brick walls everywhere I go. Like old what's his name used to say, it's a club I don't belong to. But I think the system needs to change everywhere. Not just Russia. But maybe that's all it is. Maybe they're just holding off until they establish some kind of world peace before they're going to break out these cures. But I don't think these cures are ever. This has probably been going on for thousands of years. Same kind of thing. That somebody or something, maybe these little gray critters that I busted in the middle of the night. I just happened to wake up because I smelled the roses. And I thought, hey, I'm a little kid. I'm supposed to be in mom and dad's bed. I shouldn't be smelling roses. And, open my eyes and I'm seeing this little saucer here with literally with no seams. It's just like one molded, almost like it was cast out of wax or something. Just like Bob Lazar said. Okay? So I'm not trying to scare folks. But, if you're in a position to do anything about this, consider first of all, where are you getting your information? Why aren't they releasing the cures for things? Why they want you to be afraid? Why they want to lock you down all the time and shit like that? Okay? Question that. Don't question reliable sources of news, though. Like if there really is a war going on somewhere, well then pick a side and support the whoever you identify with the most. I mean, that's all I can suggest. I mean, at this point, I don't know what sort of reality. Like, I'm just talking to my computer here, but just in a projectional sort of way. Let's assuming that the other Americans might see this video. This is not the time to be afraid. Not the time to be afraid of Chinese spy balloons or aliens, either one. It's time to be afraid of the fake news coming from China. It's time to be afraid of dark money funneling into politicians' pockets. It's time to be afraid of this Russian aggression or whatever, the psyops, convincing you that there's tanks running through downtown, and that the world's going to end tomorrow. Someone starts telling you, it's the end times, the world's going to end tomorrow. Question that reality. Like, do you really want to be afraid all the time? And also, too, nuclear war is probably survivable in this day and age, because I'm pretty sure that the United States has technology to shoot a lot of these rockets down before they even get off the launch pad. So Russia's playing a damn foolish game if they think that they're going to win a nuclear war with the United States. So I'm talking about they recently, one of their jets buzzed one of our B-52 bombers. Pretty stupid, Putin. Pretty fucking stupid. I mean, that's all I got for you. I guess that message is for Putin. Like, look, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of nuclear war. Give it your best shot. Okay? Because chances are I won't be at ground zero, and the radiation will blow over in a week or two. And, I mean, they set off 1,000 nuclear bombs above ground between, 1950 and 1970 or 1980 or whatever. Like Nevada desert is pot-marked with thousands of, people go to Vegas all the time and they don't die. So, the worst of the radiation and fallout is pretty short-lived. And also, most of it's going to blow that way. So, if Russia nukes Europe, for instance, all that fallout's going to just go right back over on Russia in most cases. So, and he's a war criminal already, so, I mean, it's kind of too late to warn him, but I'd say just back down and surrender or whatever. But it ain't looking good for the old Putin dude. He really just, mutually assured destruction means your destruction is assured. But you went ahead and did it anyways. Pulled the trigger and marched into Ukraine. And he's been killing a lot of innocent women and children. My neighbors, though, again, they're living in this alternate reality where, oh, we need that money to secure the border against the evil Mexicans. No, the evil Mexicans are not. I'm not seeing any distressed people about the Mexicans. I'm seeing people that have been brainwashed by fake news. They're living in pure terror, or they want to go attack the Capitol building. Or they want to go beat Nancy Pelosi over the head, or my next door neighbor who wanted to kick my ass. Somebody needs to kick your ass because you voted for Hillary. Where'd you get that information? Who told you I voted for Hillary? I don't think that's true. Can you verify and prove this information? And also, how is it that I deserve violence because of how I vote? That's supposed to be a sacred right in the United States, the right to vote. And it should be a sacred right in Ukraine, too. So, I guess that's all for this conversation going on an hour here. The whole global warming thing, they've been ignoring this for 50 years, 60 years. I say they, I mean the people who control the means of production, this upper class society who's totally separate from the reality that I live in. They're living in artificial reality or virtual reality. But this is my real reality. This is my reality channel. I'm just telling you true stories of events that I've experienced. I'm trying not to put a whole lot of political spin on there, except for the fact that, I think Putin's a war criminal. He's wanted by the International Crimes Court. But other than that, I think Bill Clinton's a pretty cool dude, but his China initiative, that's a failed policy. We had Chinese spies. I had Chinese spies around me the whole time when I was working on virtual reality 30 years ago. About 5 years ago when I was online talking about ultralight electric supermotors, a Chinese national family moved in up the road, and chick kept walking in front of my house back and forth like trying to, like a trap house or whatever. It's trying to get my attention. Sorry, baby, nothing racist, but I kind of like white women with red hair, not Chinese girls that look like my sister. My sister's kind of a bitch. Told the cops, he's crazy. He never invented anything. Well, I thought Dad was the professional psychologist. Sister, when did somebody, where did you get your degree in psychology? That's what I want to know. So, yeah, Chinese spies everywhere, and they're intentionally bringing them in to our our best schools and hospitals and even weapons makers. I think I saw like an old video from 30 years ago. Lockheed Martin or Lockheed Corporation, their chief science officer guy was a Chinese, and he had an accent too. So that means he wasn't born here. He's not a Chinese American. This is like a Chinese national, a spy. Why do the hard work of inventing things or learning, when you just go get a copy of the test from your little communist secret Chinese party? So, oh well, that's enough ranting about real reality and how badly fucked up it really is. It's a total shit show. This is my last video too, by the way. I don't really have too many. I mean, I got a lot of other stories, but what good's it gonna do me? I'm not making any money, and I don't have any way to grow this kind of, So what's he saying? All the conspiracy theories are true? Yeah, most of them are whichever one you want. Like, take a pick, and you can make it true for yourself. But I didn't really ask for any of the things that happened to me. Like, I didn't ask to get molested by a Boy Scout recruiter when I was a kid. I didn't ask for that woman to rip me off like $5,000 and totally get away scot-free. Like, I couldn't even call the cops on her. There's nothing I could do except literally just hope she didn't report me to the Better Business Bureau for not finishing the job. But she didn't pay me. We actually finished the job down to that last 2 square foot, and the guy that built the metal building, built the whole building, was putting on the last sheet of tin and about to drive in the self-tapping screws, and she's, oh, this is totally unacceptable. I'm not paying for any of this. Fucking con artists and scamsters. That's how you get rich. Bible says, easier to pass an elephant through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. So, these fuckers are going to burn in hell. That's all there is to it. Sorry for bad news. Hellboy strikes again. Thanks for watching.